welcome to Auto News Talk. I want you to just picture a sprawling, brightly lit dealership showroom.
Mm-hmm.
You have a buyer sitting at a desk, staring at a piece of paper, and they're just sweating over a $50,000 sticker price.
Yeah, which is terrifying for most people.
Right. And meanwhile, thousands of miles away, you have an automaker that's gambling, literally, billions of dollars on a vehicle platform. And this platform needs to run on batteries or gasoline or, a mixture of both, just to ensure that that exact same buyer doesn't walk off the lot empty-handed.
Exactly. It's a massive stress test unfolding across the entire automotive industry right now.
It really is. It's this grinding friction between incredibly futuristic, high-tech engineering ambitions on one side, and then, the harsh, ground-level financial realities of everyday consumers on the other.
Yeah.
So we're going on a mission to map out exactly how those two worlds are colliding.
And it is a fascinating collision to witness. To sort of make sense of the terrain we're walking through, we're going to trace the life cycle of a car sale in reverse.
Oh, I like that. Right. So instead of starting in the design studio, we'll start by looking closely at the severe pressure on the consumer's wallet.
Because that's where it hits home.
Exactly. From there, we'll zoom out to see how global automakers are frantically pivoting their engineering pipelines to survive that exact pressure.
Right.
And finally, we'll bring it right back to the dealership floor, where, honestly, a truly bizarre technological standoff is unfolding between the people buying the cars and the people selling them.
Man, it's wild out there. So let's start with the wallet, because that is really where the physics of this industry actually begin. I look at the numbers out there, and I just have to ask, are we reaching the absolute breaking point of what everyday people can mathematically afford to pay for a vehicle?
Well, the data certainly suggests we're, testing the upper limits of gravity here.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the figures published by Kelley Blue Book regarding new car average transaction prices, the landscape is incredibly stark.
The average transaction price for a new vehicle reached $49,855.
Wait. 49.
Almost 50 grand. We are hovering fractions of an inch below that psychological $50,000 barrier.
Almost 50 grand for an average new car. We should probably explain why that number got so high in the first place, right? Because this isn't just basic inflation.
No, not at all.
Automakers basically learned during the pandemic supply chain crunches that if they build fewer cars, but load them up with, premium trims and all the tech, they make a much higher margin per vehicle.
Right. They essentially killed off the cheap base models.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what's the fallout when the average buyer is suddenly asked to shoulder that kind of cost?
Well, the immediate fallout is contraction. Overall industry sales actually fell by 1.5%.
Ouch.
Yeah. But the more telling metric in that Kelley Blue Book data is how consumers are maneuvering to survive. They're actively shifting their demand down market.
Oh, for sure.
Buyers are flocking to subcompact SUVs and compact cars in just huge numbers.
Seeking safe harbor, basically. The data showed subcompact SUVs averaging just over $31,000 and compact cars at about $27,900.
Right.
People are voting with their checking accounts. But, that raises a massive question about the other side of the lot.
The big ones.
Yeah, the massive luxury SUVs and the full-size trucks. Those are the vehicles that traditionally print money for the legacy automakers.
Mm-hmm.
So how are they moving those?
By heavily subsidizing the illusion of demand.
Wow.
That's where the weakness is showing up. To keep moving that expensive metal, automakers are having to rely on massive discounting. The Kelley Blue Book report highlights that full-size pickup incentives are heavily inflated, averaging 8.6% of the transaction price.
8.6%.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So on a truck that averages nearly $67,000, the factory's throwing thousands of dollars on the hood just to get a buyer to actually sign the paperwork.
Exactly. It's a completely mixed market.
Yeah.
The factory wants to push luxury, but the buyer is just aggressively hunting for affordability.
And here is where I genuinely get confused, honestly.
Yeah.
When we look at electric vehicles, you would assume that with all the pressure to make EVs mainstream, prices would be coming down to meet this budget-conscious consumer.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah. But the data shows the exact opposite.
It really does. EV prices actually rose to $56,126.
Oh, wow.
And at the same time, EV incentives dropped sharply. The average incentive on a new electric vehicle dropped to a little over $6,600.
Okay, wait, how does that work mechanically? If buyers are tapped out, why are EV prices going up?
It comes down to production adjustments and just the underlying cost of the technology itself.
Okay.
Automakers are realizing that heavily discounting EVs to force adoption is basically bleeding their balance sheets dry.
So they're losing too much money.
Right. So rather than endlessly cutting prices, they are trimming production to match organic demand. And you see this vividly with Tesla.
What are they doing?
Well, their average transaction price actually strengthened to $53,891.
No kidding.
And they achieved that by relying far less on discounts. Their incentives fell by nearly 34%. They're stabilizing their pricing floor.
Man, it is a wild landscape. But what this data doesn't answer is how much longer consumers can sustain $50,000 averages before we see massive demand destruction.
Right.
I mean, people only have so much liquid cash.
Which is the core issue because they aren't using cash.
Debt.
Exactly. To understand the mechanism sustaining these prices, we have to look at the debt side of the equation. Reuters published a broader industry news brief detailing U.S. auto loan data, and I mean, it is staggering. U.S. auto loans have reached a record $211 billion.
$211 billion.
With a B. And let's break down how a number gets that high. It's a compounding formula. You have elevated vehicle prices combining with much higher borrowing costs.
Right. Interest rates are brutal.
Yeah. So to keep monthly payments somewhat manageable, consumers are stretching loan terms out to 72 or even 84 months.
7 years.
Yes. And they are rolling negative equity from their previous cars into these new massive loans. Consumers are just taking on unprecedented levels of debt simply to get to work every day.
So the automakers can clearly see this consumer squeeze. They know people are drowning in loans and, fleeing to compact cars. It feels like the manufacturers are essentially trying to build a smartphone that still takes AA batteries.
That's a great way to put it.
Like they have to engineer these incredible high-tech spaceships while simultaneously figuring out how to keep the price grounded in reality.
And that requires a monumental shift in how they actually engineer the cars. I mean, if you want to see how desperate automakers are to stay agile, look at a report from Automotive World that was citing Bloomberg regarding Honda.
Okay, what's Honda up to?
Honda is reportedly outsourcing a massive multi-powertrain platform to India's Tata Technologies.
Wait, I have to pause you there because Honda is legendary for its internal engineering culture.
Oh, absolutely.
They are an engine company first and foremost. For them to outsource an entire vehicle platform that's a tectonic shift.
It is, but agility is the new absolute currency in this industry. Automakers can no longer afford to bet their entire existence on a single powertrain.
So how does this platform work mechanically?
Right, so the platform that Tata Technologies is reportedly developing for Honda is designed to support internal combustion, hybrid, and battery electric powertrains, all on the exact same architecture.
That sounds like an absolute engineering nightmare.
I mean, it's incredibly difficult.
You have to design a floor pan and a chassis where the mounting points can safely secure a massive, flat lithium-ion battery pack, but also accommodate a traditional gas tank, an exhaust system, and a combustion engine.
Yep.
All while meeting the same global crash safety standards.
It's hard, but it is the ultimate hedge. You don't know if the buyer in 3 years wants gas, electric, or both, so you build a skeleton that can wear any of those suits.
That makes sense.
And the report noted that Honda is shifting a heavy focus toward hybrids, planning 15 next-generation hybrid models globally.
15?
Yeah. Hybrids act as the bridge between the futuristic EV push and the consumer's current financial reality.
And building this in India is a very deliberate move.
A highly deliberate. India is becoming a massive strategic growth market, especially for smaller, sub-4-meter vehicles that fit into the country's favorable tax structures.
Right.
But beyond that, India is rapidly becoming a central node for global automotive engineering. The report notes that major players like Volkswagen, Hyundai, Kia, and Stellantis are all using India for massive global engineering operations just to keep costs in check.
There's a specific initiative mentioned in that piece that I think perfectly captures the mood in these boardrooms. Honda has an internal cost-cutting directive called the Triple Half Initiative.
Oh, yeah.
Their stated goal is to have development time, have the cost, and have the workload.
Think about the physics of that for a moment.
It's insane.
Taking a vehicle development cycle that traditionally takes 4 to 5 years and cutting it in half while cutting the budget in half, that tells you everything you need to know about the pressure these companies are under.
Yeah.
However, we should definitely note a limitation here, because neither Honda nor Tata has officially confirmed this deal. The exact scope and timeline of the production really remain an open question.
Right. But the intent is crystal clear. Build ultimate flexibility into the engineering. Yet, while the executives are planning these grand, flexible, multi-billion-dollar architectures, the people on the factory floor are fighting gritty, unglamorous operational fires.
Oh, constantly.
I was reading a recent auto industry roundup piece that covered several breaking developments at once, and it just beautifully captures this split personality.
It really does highlight the contradictions of building a car right now.
On one hand, you have Jaguar teasing the cabin of its upcoming Type 01 electric coupe. They're previewing this stark, minimalist EV interior.
Very futuristic.
Totally. The standout detail is the steering wheel.
Yeah.
It relies entirely on capacitive controls rather than physical buttons. It looks like a prop from a sci-fi movie. It represents pure, high-end futuristic aspiration.
But in the exact same news cycle, in the exact same roundup, you see the messy reality of the physical world.
Exactly.
Rivian is having to recall nearly 4,000 of its highly advanced vehicles.
For what?
A supplier issue with basic halt turn signals.
Are you kidding?
No. A supplier reportedly failed to separate good replacement parts from defective ones.
It is almost comical. I mean, you can engineer an $80,000 electric vehicle that practically drives itself, but if a third-party supplier messes up a $2 plastic turn signal switch, you are still pulling thousands of cars back into the service center.
Because a car is only as advanced as its weakest physical component.
True.
The future of the auto industry isn't just about capacitive steering wheels. It's about mastering supply chain logistics and regulatory compliance.
Yeah, and you see that elsewhere in the roundup.
Look at the other maneuvers. General Motors is partnering with Procura Auto Parts specifically to manage inventory and shield against future supply chain shocks. They are literally trying to bulletproof their parts procurement.
And then you have the regulatory acrobatics, which are just wild. Porsche is reportedly pooling its European emissions data with XPeng, a Chinese electric vehicle maker.
Yep.
I mean, how does pooling even work in that context?
It's purely regulatory math. The European Union sets strict average emissions targets for an automaker's entire fleet.
Oh.
Porsche sells a lot of high-performance, gas-guzzling sports cars, which drags their average down, threatening massive fines. XPeng, on the other hand, only sells zero-emission electric vehicles.
Oh, I see where this is going.
So Porsche essentially pays to combine their fleet data with XPeng on paper, allowing the zero-emission cars to offset the gas cars, keeping Porsche compliant with the law.
That is fascinating. You are literally partnering with a rival just to keep your own cars legal to sell.
Exactly.
And finally, in that same roundup, you have Dodge working on a new vehicle using the GLH name, looking to mix a compact crossover with a hot hatch.
Though we should point out what is still completely unknown is the final body style and specifications for Dodge's planned GLH model.
Sure.
But the through line across all these brands is that every single automaker is juggling a dozen contradictory priorities at once. Electrification dreams, turn signal recalls, emissions math, and supply chain shielding.
It's a lot. So let's bring these two massive forces together. We have the automakers building these highly flexible, technologically complex cars, and we have the consumers scraping together their $50,000 loaded up on record debt trying to buy them.
Right.
What actually happens when that stressed-out buyer walks onto the dealership floor to meet the seller? Because according to data from Cox Automotive, there is a massive technological standoff happening right over the hood of the car.
It is a profound disconnect in how the two sides are approaching the transaction. The Cox Automotive data reveals a glaring divide in the adoption of artificial intelligence.
Really? How big a divide?
The numbers are striking. 63% of in-market vehicle shoppers plan to use AI in their next purchase.
63%.
Yeah. Yet only 29% of dealerships have made meaningful customer-facing changes to account for this new AI-powered shopping behavior.
Wow. So the consumers are arming themselves. 36% of shoppers are now using AI tools as a primary vehicle research channel, which is like nearly matching traditional automotive websites.
And we really need to look at the mechanics of how they are using it. There's this assumption in the industry that people just want to buy a car on their phone and never speak to a human being.
Right, the whole avoid the salesman thing.
Exactly. But the data shows something different. 26% of shoppers use AI to generate questions before speaking with a dealer. Only 17% said they use AI specifically to avoid dealership staff.
Oh, that is a critical distinction. They still want to engage, but they absolutely refuse to engage at a disadvantage.
Precisely.
They are feeding window stickers into AI, asking it to calculate real-world loan amortizations, checking the residual values of different trims, and prepping their negotiation strategy.
Yeah.
They are arriving at the dealership far more informed and just much further down the sales funnel.
Meanwhile, how are the dealerships responding to this highly prepared buyer?
Oh, wow.
Well, the study notes that 82% of dealerships report using AI in some capacity.
Okay, that sounds good.
But they're pointing it in the wrong direction. They are using it almost exclusively for internal back-office operations. 40% use it to automate routine administrative tasks, and 38% use it to generate marketing content.
You have got to be kidding. So the buyer is using AI as a strategic financial negotiation prep tool, and the dealer is using AI to write email subject lines.
Essentially, yes.
That is a massive mismatch in firepower. I mean, the Cox data found that while 69% of dealers believe AI will drive sales, only 22% say they have actually seen that growth.
They are completely missing the boat.
Though I will say, what this study doesn't answer is exactly which specific customer-facing AI tools are generating the stronger outcomes for that 22% who are succeeding.
Right. That remains a critical missing piece of the puzzle.
But I want to push back on the dealerships for a second here. When I read that dealers are only using AI for back-office paperwork and not seeing sales growth, my first instinct is to assume the sales floor is just being lazy with the technology. Is it just a failure of imagination by the sales staff?
You know, it's very easy to blame the showroom staff, but the reality involves organizational mechanics. It's actually a failure of leadership and operational design.
How so?
This dynamic is brilliantly explained in a piece published by Digital Dealer focusing on dealer automation return on investment. The central insight there is that automation and AI only work when senior leaders treat them as a fundamental operational transformation, rather than just, a simple software download.
Right. You can't just buy a subscription to a fancy tool, hand it to a salesperson and say, hey, figure it out.
Exactly. Automation physically changes how information moves between the sales desk, the finance office, and the accounting department.
Oh, I see.
Without a clear, forceful executive direction, human nature just takes over. Employees will simply revert to their familiar manual workflows even after the expensive new tools are installed on their computers.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
The article used a really great example to illustrate this mechanical failure: intelligent document processing, or IDP.
It's a perfect use case. IDP is software that can automatically read, classify, and extract information from incredibly tedious paperwork.
Like what kind of paperwork?
We're talking about reading a wrinkled part exchange form, pulling the VIN and the payoff amount, and automatically populating the finance agreements and invoices. It reduces administrative work and lowers compliance risk.
But the digital dealer piece points out that the value of IDP entirely depends on whether the dealership leaders actually redesign their human processes around the automation.
Yes.
Like if the AI reads the document, but the finance manager still manually types the data into the system because, well, that's how they've done it for 20 years, you gain absolutely nothing.
Exactly. Leaders have to mandate new behaviors, like explicitly requiring faster deal file completion times.
Technology alone solves absolutely nothing. Human behavior and process design are the ultimate bottlenecks in automotive retail. You literally have to force the culture change.
No, you do.
Although the article does leave an open question regarding exactly what specific performance metrics leaders should use to track this behavior change day to day.
That is the hard, unglamorous work of management.
Yeah.
But if we pull all of this together and look at the whole map we just walked through, a very clear picture emerges.
Yeah, let's tie it all together.
3 distinct themes surface across all of this data. First, we have an undeniable affordability crisis.
Right.
We see the mechanics of this in the Kelley Blue Book data, with transaction prices stubbornly sitting near $50,000. And we see the human consequence of it in the Reuters report showing U.S. auto loans hitting a record $211 billion.
Consumers are just stretched to their absolute limits, taking on massive debt.
Second, we are witnessing a desperate push for ultimate flexibility by the manufacturers.
Oh.
The Honda report regarding their multi-powertrain outsourcing to Tata Technologies shows a need to build agility into the very skeleton of the car. And the GM supply chain maneuvers with Procura show a need to build flexibility into the procurement of parts. They have to be ready to pivot instantly.
And the third theme ties it all together on the floor.
Right. The execution gap. The technology exists to make buying and selling cars more efficient.
Yep.
But as the Cox automotive data and the digital dealer piece both demonstrate, having the software is basically useless without the human operational alignment to execute it properly.
So we had these themes, but within them, I'm seeing two massive tensions. Two areas where the gears are just grinding against each other.
Let's hear them.
First, there is the tension between consumer demand and the OEM push. Consumers are actively hunting for down-market, affordable options. I mean, they are fleeing to compact cars and subcompact SUVs just to survive.
Right.
Meanwhile, automakers are still trying to push $56,000 EVs and having to rely on massive 8.6% discounts to move their expensive full-size trucks. The factory wants to sell luxury, but the buyer just wants to afford groceries.
That is a profound structural tension. And the second major tension is happening face-to-face at the dealership.
Yeah.
Front-end versus back-end AI.
Yeah.
You have consumers aggressively utilizing AI on the front end to calculate amortizations and generate really tough questions. Meanwhile, dealerships are stubbornly pointing their AI at the back office, using it to automate paperwork rather than actually engaging with this highly informed buyer.
If you boil all of this down, there is one major practical takeaway for anyone navigating this space. Whether you are a consumer trying to buy a car in this incredibly expensive market or a dealership manager trying to sell one, having the right technology in your hand doesn't matter even a little bit if you don't fundamentally change your process to take advantage of it.
Precisely. A tool is only as effective as the human strategy guiding it.
And that wraps up our analysis for this segment of Auto News Talk. The automotive industry is learning the hard way that you can engineer a perfect, flexible, multi-powertrain vehicle, but you still have to navigate the messy reality of human wallets, turn signal suppliers, and dealership habits to actually get it into a driveway. When cars become entirely software-defined and shoppers are using AI to buy them, you have to wonder how long until the dealership experience is just an algorithm negotiating with another algorithm. Keep that in mind next time you visit a showroom. Thanks for listening to Auto News Talk, and we will catch you next time.